is going to be a special extra long video. We're going to be playing 4 dungeon crawling card games using standard 52 card decks or 54 card decks, as some of the games will use the jokers. My original intention was for this to be a special video celebrating 1,000 subscribers, but I kept running into issues and we're now up to 1,200 subscribers and I still haven't managed to get the video out, so hopefully you guys will enjoy these games though, and it'll be worth the wait. Some of these games are going to be ones that I've already covered on the channel, and others are going to be new games that I've never shown before. To start off, we're going to be playing Clear the Dungeon by Mark S. Ball. Now, there have actually been some interesting developments related to Clear the Dungeon since I last played it on my channel. Mark S. Ball, who runs the YouTube channel Riffle, Shuffle, and Roll, I found out, has released an updated version of the rules on Board Game Geek. Apparently these updates are actually from 2025, but weren't uploaded to Board Game Geek until a couple months ago, so I actually didn't see them until recently. The main change to the game is that there is no longer a distinction between the classic mode and the advanced mode. Instead, there is only one rule set, which is the same as the classic mode from the original rules, and instead of the advanced mode, there are a number of variations provided in the rule set that you can apply to the game, which includes many of the elements from the advanced rules. There are also 5 dungeon layouts provided in the document, and we're going to be trying all of them today. The dungeon layouts are sorted by difficulty from easiest to hardest. We're going to start with the easiest one, and then we're going to move through the dungeons towards the hardest ones. And we're going to slowly introduce some of the variations as we progress. Most of the variations provided are intended to make the game easier, so it should offset the increasing difficulty of the dungeon layouts, and we should get a pretty smooth experience from start to finish. By the way, we're on a lighter background for now, and that's because we're using black cards. I found when I was trying to record this game before that when I used black cards on the dark blue background, it was a bit difficult to make out the cards. So from now on, when we play with darker cards like this deck, we'll use this brighter background, and then we'll switch back to the dark blue background when we're playing with normal white cards. This deck was actually requested by someone in the comments. I originally used this deck to play Scoundrel, but they asked if I could do a video playing Clear the Dungeon with it. So, here you go. Thank you for the request. I hope you enjoy it. To set up Clear the Dungeon, you need to separate the face cards from the rest of the deck, similar to Regicide. This is called the monster deck, and once you've separated them, you want to shuffle it up. Once it's shuffled, you can start dealing out the dungeon. The first layout we're going to use is the simplest one. You simply deal 3 rows of 4 cards each. This is the simplest and easiest dungeon, and hopefully we should be able to win it, unless we get really bad luck or I blunder really hard. The rest of the cards go in what's called the power deck. To start the game, draw 3 cards from the power deck. This is your hand. The goal of the game is to defeat all the monsters in the dungeon. In order to defeat a monster, you must play 3 cards to it. The first two cards are called the attack cards, and they must add up to the value of the enemy. Jacks have a value of 11, queens have a value of 12, and kings have a value of 13. So in order to kill a king, I must play 2 cards to it that add up to 13 or more. The third card is called the trigger card. I got this wrong in my last video. I called it the finisher, but it's actually called the trigger card. And it can be any value, but it must match suit of the enemy you're trying to defeat. So, going back to the king, if I played the 10 and the 7 to the king, in order to defeat the king, I would have to play a spade as the trigger card, and then I would defeat the king. Here we have a joker, and jokers are special. As an attack card, they have a value of 10, but if used as a trigger card, they can be used as a substitute for any suit, so they're a wild card when used as a trigger card. So let's take out this king. We'll play the 10, the 7, and then we'll use the joker as a trigger card and take out the spade, the king of spades. And once you defeat a monster, you reveal the next monster underneath. Once you've played all 3 cards in your hand, you can draw a new hand, but you cannot draw a new hand until you've used all 3 cards. You can't play 2 cards and then draw 2 more to replace it. If you end up stuck with a card that you cannot play, for example, let's say instead of a jack, this was a king, and we drew an ace in our hand, an ace can only be played to a jack because an ace plus a 10 adds up to 11, and there's nothing higher than a 10, so we can't play an ace as an attack card to a queen or a king. So if we drew an ace and we couldn't use it as a trigger card, we would be stuck with it in our hand, and in that case, in order to draw more cards, we would have to play it to a special discard pile called the damage pile, which I'll be putting right here to the right of the power deck. And if you end up with more than 6 cards in your damage pile, the game is over and you've lost. So that's the goal. Defeat all the monsters without ending up with more than 6 cards in your damage pile. So that's pretty much all the rules. Let's continue playing and see if we can finish off this dungeon. I think I'm going to play the 8 and then the 4 and then use the 6 as a trigger. I want to do this because we've already played 2 hearts, so I want to make sure that we take out hearts as soon as possible. Otherwise, we might run out of them and then end up at the end of the game with a heart enemy that we can't kill because we don't have a trigger card. We'll draw a new hand. And here we go. This is a perfect example of what I was talking about. We're going to end up here. We can play the 4, the 4 to the king, the 2 to the queen, and then we're stuck with this ace that we have no way of using because there are no jacks that we can play them to. So the ace of diamonds goes to our damage pile. That's 1 damage. Okay, let's play this 10 here to the queen of spades, and then we'll play this as a trigger card to take it out. And we reveal underneath, hopefully, a jack. Yes, it's the jack of spades. So let's play this 2 of clubs to the jack of spades. And I'm going to play one of these 8s to the king, one of these 8s to the queen, and then the 3 we're going to have to take to our damage pile because we can't play it to any of the other cards. Okay, let's play the 9 to the jack. We'll play the 5 to the king. And then we'll use this 6 as a trigger card to take out the jack. I thought of maybe playing it to that queen, but I think I want to take out the jack instead. Alright, this 4 would make a perfect trigger card for this king over here. 7 to the other queen. Okay. Let's play this 5 here, and then use the 5 of clubs as a trigger card to take out the queen of clubs. And I'll play this 8. Do we want to use the 8 of diamonds as a trigger card here to take out the queen, or do we want to play it to the jack? I think I'm going to use it as a trigger card. It's usually preferable to not play high value cards as trigger cards, but in this instance, I really want to get working on this pile here. Okay, so I think I'm going to play 2 of these 6s to the jack of diamonds, and then I'm going to play the 2 here to the other jack. Okay, I'm going to play the 9 here to this king. That adds up to 13, and then we'll play the 7 as the trigger and take out the king of diamonds. We're getting close to the end, but it's also getting a bit scary because we're running out. We're taking a lot of damage. We have to take this. Well, actually, we could play it to the king. Let me just see how many 10s we have remaining in the deck. We do have 1 joker, which is a 10. There's 1 10. 2 10s. So we have 2 10s and a joker remaining in the deck, so I think I'm confident enough to play that 3 to the king. And there's a joker. Perfect. I would also love a diamond here on this draw. We did not get one, but we also drew a 10. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to play this 10 to the king, this 9 to the jack, and then I'm going to play this joker to take out the jack of diamonds, and we reveal our final monster, the queen of hearts. That ace of clubs will make a perfect trigger card to take out this jack. But unfortunately, we did not draw any hearts. I'll play this 3 right here to the queen, and then we have to take this as damage. We're hoping for a heart here, as well as a 9 or higher. We did not get one, so we can play this, but we have to take these 2 cards as damage. And we kind of need a perfect draw here. We might actually lose. We need a 9 or higher. I think there's 1 10 left in the deck. And then we also need a heart. So, do we get both of those? And the 10 can't be the 10 of hearts. There's a 9. Ace of spades. No, we don't. So we ran out of hearts. So we aren't able to take out the queen. And we end up losing this first game. That's unfortunate. The easiest dungeon, and we weren't able to win. That's okay though. This game can be pretty hard sometimes. So, let's shuffle up the monster deck again. And we will get ready to play the second dungeon. The second dungeon also has a pretty simple layout, but is a little bit harder. And we'll shuffle the power deck as well. By the way, I can't believe I never knew that Mark S. Ball is the one who runs the Riffle Shuffle Roll channel. I've watched a ton of videos on that channel, and I never knew that the person who made them is also the person who designed this game. His videos are great. I'll probably link his channel in the description in case you want to check them out. He goes over the rules of many games, mostly card games, but also other sorts of games as well. Alright, let's start our second game. And our second dungeon layout is 4 rows of 3 cards each. Uh-oh. shuffled. One. I'm not gonna bother like reshuffling and redealing. We'll just put that there. I will take this bottom card and just put it somewhere in the middle though. And then we'll cut the deck a few times. Okay, let's start our second game. I'm gonna play the 9 and the 2 onto this jack, and then play the 10 to one of the queens. We've got our first joker. And unfortunately, no cards that we can use as finishers because we have all black cards, or white cards, I guess. And we didn't draw any. We did get a joker though, so we're going to use that as our finisher. And I think we'll take out the queen. That way, our remaining monsters are a club and a spade rather than 2 spades. Okay, perfect. We can use the ace of spades as a trigger here. I think I said finisher earlier. I meant trigger. Sorry if I accidentally say finisher. I mean trigger. And I'm going to play the 6 here, and then the 5 of clubs as a trigger to take out the queen. Okay, let's play the 8 and the 6 to the queen, and then the 3 of hearts as the trigger. Alright. I'll play the 6 and the 5 to the jack. That's now ready for a trigger. The other 6 I'm going to play to the queen. No cards that we can use as triggers, unfortunately. We're actually going to have to take damage here. I'll play the 8 to the queen, the 4 to the king, and then we have to take the 3 as damage. Okay, we can play the 2 of diamonds as a trigger here for the queen. And let's see what's underneath, hopefully a jack or a queen. No, it's a king. I say that because I'm going to have to play the 4 to it, so we need another 9 or higher. And, okay, we got a 10, that's good. Do we have something we can use as a trigger for? Yes, okay. So I'm going to play this 10 here. I'm going to use this joker as a trigger for the king of clubs. I just realized my setup here is a little lopsided. Let me see if I can fix that. So we take out the king of clubs. And we'll use the 8 of diamonds here as a trigger to take out the king of diamonds. Now we've only got 2 monsters remaining, which can make things harder. The less monsters on the field, the more difficult it can be to have enough places to put your cards, which means you have a higher chance of taking damage. 10, that's good. But, well, we could use the 7 as a trigger card and hope we get a jack underneath, but I think it's safer to play these cards like this and then play the ace to the damage pile and hope we get a spade or a club on this draw. And we didn't. We got all hearts. Uh-oh. We have to play all 3 of these to the damage pile. We've now got 5 cards in our damage pile. Uh-oh, diamond. Diamond. No way. Okay, we did get a club. But I think we still lose because this 5 and 8 can't add up to any monster. So we do take out the king, but this jack underneath, we can't. We can play the 5, but this 3 can't be played. Oh wait, that only adds up to 6. We still... Uh-oh. Okay, now it's over. Because, yeah, we can't play the 3 or the 2 to this card, and we can't play both. So we end up taking damage again, and we lose. That's 7. So our second game is a loss. So far, this is not going very well. Hopefully we'll win at least one tonight. Maybe once we start introducing the new mechanics, we'll be able to get one. Speaking of which, we are going to start doing that with our next game. In our third dungeon, we're going to introduce the first rule variation, which is king abilities. From now on, when we kill a king, it goes to an inventory pile, and at any point, we can play one of those kings and activate a special ability based on the suit. If we play the King of Spades, we can double the power of one of the attack cards. If we play the King of Diamonds, we can peek at the bottom of the deck, and then, if we want, move that card to the top of the deck. And I think I actually got this effect wrong in 2 different ways on my last video of the game. But I think I understand how it works properly this time. The King of Clubs allows you to immediately draw the top card of the power deck and move it into your hand. And this is a power that combos very well with the King of Diamonds. Because the King of Diamonds only moves a card to the top of the deck, it doesn't move it to your hand, but you can then play the King of Clubs and move it to your hand. The final king is the King of Hearts, and the King of Hearts allows you to move one card from your hand to the bottom of the power deck, so you can use that to avoid damage. And you can also use it, again, to combo with the King of Diamonds and the King of Clubs, because you can move a card to the bottom, and then later, when it's more opportune to have that card, you can play the King of Diamonds to move it to the top, and then the King of Clubs to draw it into your hand. Alright. Let's deal out the third dungeon, and this one is a bit more complicated. You start with 2 cards on the top, then 3 cards underneath, then another row of 3 cards, and then the final row has 4 cards. So we've already got a king, so hopefully we'll be able to get that and use it to our advantage. I'm gonna play one of these 10s to the king, I'm gonna play the other one to the queen, and then the 2 of hearts. So that card is ready for a trigger card. I'm gonna play this 4 to the king, and then both of these 5s to the jacks. We need clubs. We didn't get one, but we can take out this jack here by playing the 8, and then the 6 of diamonds as a trigger. And I just noticed we've used a ton of our diamonds already. That's really unlucky. I hope we don't run out before we take out all the diamonds. Oh my god, and we drew another one. Okay. Oh my god, 2 more. Okay, I think I'm gonna try to use my jokers on the... Well, first of all, all of these cards have to go to the damage pile. And I think I'm gonna try to use my jokers as trigger cards for diamonds, if I can. Another diamond, this is crazy. We're losing them all right at the start. And we have to take damage again, because we can't play this anywhere. Okay. Please draw a heart. Okay. So first, let's take out hearts. And we can use this to take out the queen of spades. And I'm going to use the king of hearts to put this joker on the bottom of the deck. And I'm going to save that joker. Hopefully we can get the king of diamonds. And then I'll use that joker to take out a diamond. Okay, let's take out this king. We'll want to save that king of clubs as well. It's so unlucky that we lost all our diamonds right at the start, and then two of our diamond enemies ended up way at the bottom of the dungeon. We can play one of these aces to the jack, and then the 8 to the king. Okay, there's our other joker. Unfortunately, we got it before we could really do anything with it, because I wanted to use it on the diamond, but it's taking us so long to find the diamonds. Let's play the 9 here, and the 2, and then we'll play the joker as the trigger. Hoping this is the king of diamonds. It is, okay. So we need 2 decent cards, and then a diamond. Unfortunately, that's not going to cut it. We'll play the 5 here. Well, the 6 is decent, I guess. But we can't do anything with the 5, so it has to go to the damage pile. We've got 5 cards in the damage pile now. Okay, we can play this to take out the king. We get the king of spades. We can use that to double the value of an attack card. And I'm going to use it to double the value of this 7 right here. So we can take out the jack, and this 3 has to go to the damage pile. If we take 1 more damage, the game is over. Okay, so we'll play this 3 of hearts here as the trigger to take out the jack of hearts. We'll play this 7 here, that's 13, and this to the queen of diamonds. We need a diamond. Okay, we got one. Okay, now this ace of hearts is pretty bad. We need to hope we get a jack. I don't think, did we take out all the jacks already? Oh, we did. So the game is over then, because there's nothing we can do with that jack. We can do this to get the, to defeat these 2 monsters. We can use that diamond there. And then, oh, we get this in our inventory. Then we can use the combo. We move what we know is the joker to the top, then play the king of clubs, and we draw the joker. We can play it here. But there's nothing we can do with this ace of hearts. So we unfortunately lose the game. We got pretty far that time, considering how awkward the start was, losing all those diamonds. Were there any left in the deck even? There was 1. Look at all these high cards that were at the bottom of the deck. That's such a shame. Okay. Well, 3 dungeons down, 0 wins. Pretty rough going so far. The next rule variation we're going to introduce is the power reserve. At the start of the game, instead of drawing 3 cards to our starting hand, we're going to draw 5. We can then pick 2 of those starting cards and put them off to the side. Those 2 cards become our power reserve, and we can play those at any time we want. The power reserve is not restored, so once we use those cards, we don't get any replacements. They're gone for the rest of the game. And I just realized that because we haven't won a single game, we haven't gone over the scoring system yet. But the way the scoring system works is that once you've won, you count up the cards remaining in the power deck, not including the cards in your hand. And the number of cards remaining in the deck is your score. I believe the maximum score is 6, and that's if you take no damage. And when you're playing with the power reserve, cards in the power reserve count towards your score if you manage to keep them until the end of the game. So you are rewarded for not using your power reserve if you can avoid it. Alright, let's deal the next dungeon. For the next dungeon layout, we deal 1 row of 2, another row of 2, a row of 3, another row of 2, and then 1 more row of 3. So let's draw our hand, and we draw 5 this time. And I think it's pretty much always beneficial to try to keep 2 cards of different suits. So if you end up in one of those situations where you just can't draw cards, you have backups that will allow you to potentially have the suit that you need to defeat the monster that's currently blocking you. So let's play the 6 to one of the queens, the 5 to the other, and then the 4 to the jack. And here we'll play the 8 to the queen, and then the 5 is the trigger. And we take out the queen. And then I think I'm already going to use a card from the power reserve here, the 7, and then we'll use the 2 of hearts to take out the jack. So that didn't last very long. We already used one of our power reserve cards. And we'll draw again. Okay. I think we'll play the 9 and the 3, and then I'm going to take the 5 of hearts as damage. No clubs, that's rough. So I think I'm going to use the 10 of clubs as a trigger card here, using our other reserve card. I was just making sure I didn't kill any kings yet, and forgot to put them in my inventory. And it looks like we're gonna have to take damage again. We'll play the 10 and the 3 to the king, and then the 2 goes into the damage pile. Okay, nice, we drew a club. So let's play the 6 here, and then the 2 of clubs as the trigger. We take out the queen and reveal, hopefully, a jack. No, a queen. Alright, we'll play the 2. Just to avoid taking more damage, we need a 10, and we got one. That's lucky. Okay, let's play the 4 of clubs here as a trigger, taking out the king of clubs. And then we'll play the 10, and we have to take the 7 as damage. Our kings were all at the bottom. That's a bit unfortunate. We did draw a diamond to use as a trigger against this queen. And let's see, a king of spades and a jack of spades. Now I don't think we've drawn any of our jokers yet, so I think it is okay to play these cards. We now need 10s for both of these spaces, but I think we have a decent chance of drawing 10s. And we didn't. Okay, maybe that was not the best idea. So we take 3 damage. We're already at 6 cards in the damage pile. That's an ace, a 6, and a 9. And I think even if we draw, we have no spades. So even if we play the king of clubs and draw a 10, we did draw a joker, but we have nothing to play as a finisher. So we lose once again. We have won 0 out of our first 4 games. This is going so poorly. Okay, well, hopefully this last game, it would be very embarrassing if I record an entire session of this game without getting a single win. It can be a tough game, but it's usually not so tough that I get completely shut out in a session. So the last rule variation we're going to introduce for this final dungeon is called the Boomerase. This rule variation makes two changes to the way that the aces work. First, the aces are now worth 11 instead of 1, so they're much more useful. The second change is that if you play an ace as a trigger card, it returns to your hand. So that's another huge benefit. With these two massive buffs, we can hopefully win this final game. Okay, let's go. For the final dungeon, you start with one card. Oh, wait, let me flip these so that they're the right way when I reveal them. So we start with one card, then 2 cards, and then 3 cards. Then we do 1 card again, then 2 cards, then 3 cards. If you watched my first video on this game, this probably looks pretty familiar. It's very similar to the advanced dungeon layout from the old rule set. And we've got 2 of our kings near the front, so that's good. We won't be waiting the whole game this time to get our kings. Not a great starting hand. I think I'm going to take these low cards, and we'll be able to deploy them as trigger cards at some point. And we'll take out this jack. We drew all low cards in our starting hand, which is unfortunate. Okay, I don't think I'm going to actually take out the king yet. I think I'm going to play both of these, and then play the 6 here, and hope we get a heart or a diamond. We did get a diamond. It's a really high one. So, okay, so what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to play the 3 here, and I'm going to use the 2 from our power reserve as a trigger card. This king then goes to our inventory, and we reveal a jack of diamonds, and we'll play both of these to the jack of diamonds. Once again, we need diamonds and hearts. We'll play the 7 as the trigger card here. We reveal this card down here, and we will play the 9 and the 6 to it. Need a heart. We got one. Okay. And we get another heart, another king, in our inventory. And it looks like we're going to have to take this ace to our damage pile. Now we need spades. We do have a 2 of spades in our power reserve if we need it. And I think we're going to use it. We'll play the 9, then the 2 of spades from our power reserve as the trigger card. We reveal 2 new monsters, the Queen of Diamonds and the King of Clubs. Let's play the Joker to the King and the 9 to the Queen. Oh, we got all hearts. That's no good. So I think... Oh, wait, I just remembered that we have the Boomerase. I totally forgot about it. Okay. Now I don't think that actually helps here, because we still don't have anything we can do with the ace. So I totally forgot about the Boomerase, and we're gonna lose that ace as well. Oh, wait, no we won't, because we can play the King of Hearts to move the ace to the bottom of the deck, and then later we can get it back with the King of Diamonds. Okay, let's play the 5 of clubs. We get the King of Clubs, so anytime we want, we So we've got the boomerang, the boomerice in reserve. We can draw it whenever we want by playing the combo. Looking for a spade. No spade. So we're gonna take 2 damage here. Need spades. Okay, we got one. And the king of spades. So normally we would have to take damage here, but because we got the king of spades, we can double the damage of that 10. Hopefully that's enough. Or of that 5, I mean. Okay. Let's do this. We'll play these. And then we want a spade. Okay, we got one. And we can demonstrate the boomerang effect here. We play the ace as the trigger, and it goes back in our hand. And now we can play it here. That's worth 11. So we'll play it as the trigger. And for this turn, oh, we got the joker. It looks like we're finally gonna win one, unless we get really unlucky. So we'll play the joker. We defeat the jack. And it's the queen of hearts. So we do this. We play the 10 and the 8. Then we play the king of diamonds. We move the ace of hearts back on top. We play the king of clubs and we draw it. And then we can play it as the trigger card and take out the last queen. So the final dungeon we managed to win. And we managed to win without even using our king of spades. So that's good. At least we managed to win one. That was a pretty rough session, but that's how this game goes sometimes. And we ended with 4 cards remaining in our power deck. So we end with a score of 4. So I hope you enjoyed that game. It's very fun, and I think this deck is absolutely perfect for it. Thanks again to the person who recommended playing this game with this deck. I think it's an amazing deck for Clear the Dungeon because of the face cards. So, that is our first game done. Our next game that we're going to play is Scoundrel Plus. So let's get into that. So for Scoundrel Plus, we're going to be using the Bicycle Mystical deck, which is actually a pretty standard deck with standard designs, but it's got a pretty nice back design and a nice color scheme on the face cards. Let's see if we can find one. So, Scoundrel Plus is a variant of the game Scoundrel by Zach Gage and Kurt Beeg. It adds a few elements to the game, which I've put here on a sheet. Character classes that modify different mechanics of the game or add restrictions, and relics that allow you to activate special effects during the game. Now you can see here I made a pretty embarrassing mistake in my last video on Scoundrel Plus. I said that the cheat has 20 HP, but the cheat actually has 10 HP. I don't know how I made that mistake. I guess I just misread it, and then didn't go back to double check. But someone in the comments pointed it out, so thank you to them for doing that. We will be playing as the cheat today, and thanks to them, we will have the correct amount of HP for that class. So, in my last video, I played as the Fighter, Rogue, and Cleric. This time we're going to play as the Berserker and the Cheat. And then we're going to play as the Rogue again, but we're going to introduce another rule variation that was suggested in the comments of my last Scoundrel Plus video, and it was a rule variation that I thought was a really good idea, so we're going to give it a shot. But first, we're going to play normal rules as the Berserker. Speaking of really good ideas from people in my comments, someone suggested a really good way to do the HP tracking. So typically the downside of using the cards is that you can't really tell easily how much HP there is because the cards only go up to 10. So for 20 HP, you have 2 stacks of 10, but you have to remember that the red cards are 1 through 10, and the black cards are 11 through 20. But someone came up with a really good solution for that, which is to instead use two piles of cards, with this one representing the tens digit and this one representing the ones. So 3 and 5 would be 35 HP, which is the max HP of the Berserker. If we take 2 damage, we drop to 33, and if we took 3 damage, I would flip the card like this to represent 0, so this would be 30. If it makes it easier for you to remember, you can imagine the border around the card is a big 0. So, to start off, we will have 35 HP. And the Berserker's restriction is that he cannot heal. Berserkers must go through the entire game with no health potions, which makes the game significantly more difficult. I don't think I've actually ever won as the Berserker. I've come close, but I don't know if I've ever won. So I will give a refresher for the rules to Scoundrel for anyone who is seeing this game for the first time. In Scoundrel, the deck is called the Dungeon, and the goal of the game is to reach the end of the dungeon. From the dungeon, you draw rooms of 4 cards. Each set of 4 cards is a room, and the different cards in the room represent different objects inside the room. Black cards, spades, and clubs are monsters. Numbered hearts are health potions. Numbered diamonds are weapons. And in this version of the game, red face cards are relics. In the original Scoundrel, the red face cards are removed from the deck and are not used in the game, but in Scoundrel Plus, they are relics. In order to progress to the next room normally, you must deal with 3 of the 4 cards in the room. For monsters, you have to defeat them in combat. For health potions, you have to use them. And for weapons, you have to equip them. If you can't or don't want to deal with all the cards in the current room, you can run from the room. And we're actually going to do that for this first room. To run from the room, gather all the cards up in one motion and put them at the bottom of the deck. Then draw a new room. You can run from as many rooms as you want. However, you cannot run from 2 rooms in a row. There is an exception, though. We'll get to that when we find our first Jack relic. For now, though, we've gotten a pretty unlucky start here. We're gonna have to fight 2 of these enemies, and the only weapon we have is a 2 of diamonds, so we're going to be taking a lot of damage in this first room. We will equip the 2 of diamonds. Then we're going to fight the Queen of Clubs. The way fighting enemies works is that you take the enemy's attack value, which is the number of the card. For a jack, it's 11, a queen is 12, a king is 13, and an ace is 14. Aces are high in this game. You take the attack value of the monster, and you subtract the attack value of the weapon, and the resulting number is the amount of damage that you take. So in this case, we take 10 damage, bringing us down to 25 HP already. Not a very good start. And if we want to get out of this room, we have to deal with another enemy as well, so we'll fight the 10 as well. So we take 8 damage, bringing us to 17 HP. We've already lost over half our health in the first room. So we're definitely not going to be winning this game, but we'll see how far we can get. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. This Ace of Hearts is our first relic, and this relic allows you to kill any one enemy instantly. So we are going to use the Ace relic to kill the Ace of Clubs instantly. Now there's actually a major mechanic to fighting enemies that I forgot to mention. So if you fight an enemy with your weapon, you can now only use that weapon to fight enemies of lesser value than last enemy you fought with it. So we fought the queen, and then after we fought the queen, we could not use this 2 of diamonds to fight any enemy that is a queen or higher. It must be a jack or lower. So we fought the 10, and now this 2 of diamonds cannot be used to fight any enemies except enemies that are 9 or lower. So your weapons degrade the more you use them, and they degrade especially if you use them on low value enemies. So you are advised to try to use your weapons on high value enemies first before using them on low value enemies. To finish this room, we need to deal with one more card, so we're going to equip the 5 of diamonds, and when you equip a weapon, you must discard your old weapon. Now I'm actually going to run this room. We're getting extremely unlucky in this game. I might do another game as the Berserker just because this is going so poorly. This will be a test run where we explain the rules and get an understanding of the game before we do our real run. Now hearts are health potions. In a normal game of Scoundrel, you use them and then you heal the amount on the health potion. So we would heal 6 HP. But we're playing as the Berserker, who cannot heal, so we can still use the health potions to get them out of the room, but we do not heal from them. They don't do anything. Next, we're going to fight the 9, so we take 4 damage, bringing us from 17 HP to 13 HP. And we'll fight the 6, and we lose 1 more HP, bringing us to 12 HP. We've got another relic here, the King of Diamonds. So red kings can be used to replace any card in the card room. So you play the king, then you pick a card, you place it at the bottom of the deck, and then you draw a new card to replace it. We got a 2 of hearts, so let's use that, and then we'll fight the 5 of spades with our 5 of diamonds, and we take no damage, and we move to the next room. Alright, we're going to use the 10 of hearts, doesn't do anything. We're going to equip the 10 of diamonds, and then we're going to fight the ace of spades. I keep almost saying clubs. You'd think I would have learned the suits by now. So, aces are worth 14. We fought it with a 10, so we take 4 damage, putting us at 8 HP. Let's draw the next room. Alright, let's fight the 9, the 8, and the 7. And we'll fight the 6, the 4, and the 2. And once you fight a 2 with the weapon is now basically useless because there is nothing lower than a 2 that we can fight with it. So we'll just discard it right away. Next, I'm going to play the 9 and the 7, and then I'm going to equip the 6 of diamonds. Alright, let's fight the 5, and then the 4, and then we will equip the 4 of diamonds. We are going to, let's replace the 2 of spades and see what we get. The jack of diamonds. Okay. I think I'm going to equip the 7 and then fight the jack. So we take 11 minus 7. We take 4 damage. We've got 2 relics that we haven't seen before, the jack and the queen. The jack relic allows you to instantly run from any room. So the difference between running normally and using a jack is that 1, when you run normally, you have to do it at the start of a room. You can't run in the middle of a room. But with a jack. As soon as you play the jack, you run from a room. So I could play 2 cards here, then play the jack, and we run from the remaining cards in the room. The other benefit of the jack is that it does not count as a run for the purpose of running from multiple rooms in a row. So we could play the jack to run from this room, and then we could run from the next room normally as well, because the jack doesn't count. Now the queen boosts the power of health potions. So in the case of the Berserker, it's not going to help us at all, but if we were any other class, playing the queen and then playing a health potion would boost that health potion's effect by 3. Now it's worth keeping in mind that the queen only works on health potions used in the same room. So if we used a queen and then we move to the next room and we use a health potion in the next room, we don't get the effect only if we use a health potion in the same room that we played the queen. But we're the Berserker, so the health potions really don't mean anything to us. So we'll just play these 2 cards and then we'll play the jack, and we run from the ace relic, which is good because the next time we encounter a powerful monster, we can run from the room, and that will put the powerful monster behind the ace relic. Let's play the queen and the 5, and then we will equip the 9 and discard the 7 and the jack. And we'll fight the 7, and then we'll play the jack and run from the room because we can't fight the king. If we fought the king with the 9, we would take 4 damage and die. So just for the sake of surviving, we will run with the jack, and we can now run from this room as well if we need to. So we'll fight the 3, use the 8, and now we can't fight either of these 2 cards because we can only fight a 2 with this weapon, but we can fight the 3 barehanded. So in that case, we take the full damage, putting us at 1 singular HP. And we have to run from this room, obviously. There's nothing we can do. And let's fight the 2 with our 9. We use the 4, and then we equip the 3. There's our ace relic. We'll use the ace relic on the king, and then equip the 8. And this is where our game will come to an end. Actually, what if we run from this, and then we draw again? Yeah, that didn't help. We can fight the 8, but from this point on, we have no way of getting past these enemies, and I'm actually surprised we made it very close to the end of the dungeon, even though we lost so much health at the start. So I think I actually am just gonna consider that our game. I was gonna do another Berserker run because I thought the game was gonna end so quickly, but we made it very close to the end. These were the monsters we had remaining. I'm surprised we made it so far after losing so much, but pretty good game, honestly. If we hadn't had that situation at the start, we might have actually been able to win. So our game with the Berserker was a loss. By the way you score the game is that the remaining monsters in the dungeon, you add up their values, and that becomes your negative score. That's how you score it if you lose. So that's -11, -23, -36, -46. Our score was -46. If you win, your score is the amount of health points that you have remaining, but we did not win. Also, if you win the game and there is a health potion in the final room, you add the health potion to your score. So it's actually possible to get a maximum score of 30 in the standard game. 20 health points remaining with a 10 health potion in the final room gives you 30. But I've never won with 30 points before. It's very difficult and requires you to get quite lucky. So that was our game as the Berserker. on to the cheat. The cheat is a pretty interesting character. You only have 10 HP, but you can run from as many rooms as you want. There's no limit on it. So, that makes for some pretty interesting strategy. You could theoretically never die by just running from rooms forever, but if you just do that, you will eventually reach a point where you have no more moves that you can make because you just keep running and running into the same enemies with no way to kill them. So, you do still have to be careful, even though you can theoretically live forever. We'll see if we can win. I have won as the cheat before, so it's not like the Berserker where it's so difficult and I've never won. In my first Scoundrel Plus video, I sort of questioned this class. I said it sounded kind of silly, but that's because I thought this cheat had the normal amount of HP, so I thought it was just like 20 HP, but you could run forever, which seemed like kind of a weird class and didn't really make sense to me. But it turned out it didn't make sense because I had it wrong, so my bad. Okay, let's start our second game as the cheat. Alright, so let's start, I think, by equipping the 7 of diamonds, fighting the 8. So we take 1 damage, so let's flip this over, and this goes to 0, so we've got 9 HP. And then I think we will actually fight the 3 barehanded. So we go down to 6 HP. And I think I'm going to use the queen and the 6. The queen didn't really matter because the 6 would have healed us up to full HP anyways. And then we'll equip the 6 of diamonds and draw the next room. So I think I'll fight the 6 and then the 5, and then I'll play the jack to run from the king. Let's use the king to replace the 9. I want to save it for later. We get the 3 instead. We'll fight the 8 barehanded. I don't want to waste the 8 on it. So we go down to 2 HP. And we will then use the 3, bringing us back up to 5. I need to remember that I can run as much as I want, so I should not be afraid to use that to my advantage. And I think we're going to use it here. We're going to run from this room, because the king and the ace in the same room is pretty scary. So let's fight the 2. We take no damage. Then we'll equip the 5, and we'll fight the 7, taking 2 damage. Whoops. Okay. Next, we'll use the 5. We heal up to 8 HP. Equip the 3. And then fight the 7, taking 4 damage. Let's play the king, replace the jack. We replace with a 10. I will equip the 4 and use the 10 health potion. So we go back up to 10 HP. Now we'll fight the 10. because I want those health potions. Actually, yes, I do want those health potions, so we'll play the 9. Now here's the thing, is that you can use multiple health potions in one room, but only the first one has any effect. The second health potion does not heal you. So, the 9 will heal us to 10 HP, and then we could theoretically, we will equip the 2, and we'll use the other health potion. We're already at full health, so it doesn't do anything, but even if we weren't at full health, it would also still not do anything. I think I'm gonna run from this room, put the ace in the back of the deck, and then if we find another monster that we really don't want to fight, we'll run again, and that will put them right next to the ace. So I'm gonna fight the jack. We take 9 damage, putting us down to 1 HP. Then I will play the 8 of hearts, bringing us back up to 9 HP. And then I will fight the 6, so now we take 4 damage. We've got another ace here. I think I will fight with the 4. We take 2 damage. And then I'm going to play the jack and run from these last 2 cards. Ooh, an ace. And we're gonna run from this for sure. Hopefully we can take out that ace with one of those ace relics. That 10 would also be nice. Actually, it looks like we're gonna have to use that 10 on the king, so we won't be able to use it on the ace. Let's use the 7 health potion, putting us at 10 HP. Then we equip the 10, and then we'll fight the king, and we take 3 damage, so we're at 7 HP. Let's fight the 9. We take no damage. Equip the 9. And then we'll fight the ace, and we take 5 damage. Putting us down to 2 HP. And we have to run from this. I think we're gonna have to run until we get another health potion, but the thing is, I think we might have used all our good health potions. We'll use this too. No. Let's use the ace to take out the queen, and that's not good. I would like to use that ace on a king or an ace, but I think we're kind of running out of options now. We'll use the 2 health potion, and now we move on to the next room. We've got another ace, and let's run from it. And I think we're just out of health potions. I'll run again, just to see. But I think we've gone through pretty much all of them. Now we can actually survive this room. We fight the jack. We take 2 damage. We fight the 10. We take 1 damage. And then we fight the 9, and we take no damage. We can use the ace here on the king, and then fight the 2. But I think from here, we are done for, because there's no health potions left. Oh wait, we might be able to win by technicality. So, we'll use the queen, equip the 8, and then fight the 5, and we take no damage. And then there are not enough cards to make a final room. So in many rule sets of the game, once you reach a point where there are not enough cards to make the final room, the game is over and you've won. usually when I play, I try to take out all the monsters in the dungeon, so I would not consider this game one because I still had 2 monsters left in the dungeon, but according to the rules that most people play by from my experience watching other people play the game, this would be considered a win, even if it's not the personal way that I like to play the game, but we'll take a win anyways. So, our second game was kind of a victory. It depends on your definition. But I would say that it was still a well-played game, I think. Alright, so for our last game, we're going to play as the rogue again. The rogue starts with 17 HP, but when he fights with a weapon, he gets +1 added to his weapon. So that's a pretty good bonus. It's going to help save us a lot of HP throughout the run. But we're not just going to play as the rogue. We're going to add a new variation to the game. In the comments for my last Scoundrel Plus video, someone mentioned that while they did enjoy the game, they felt that the relics made it a bit too easy, and their suggestion on how to balance the game was to introduce the Jokers. The Jokers are doppelgangers, so when a Joker appears in a room, it takes the attack value of the highest card in the room. That includes potions, weapons, and relics. So this makes it a bit more risky to keep relics around from one room to another, because if you draw a Joker in the next room, it becomes the value of that relic and might be difficult to deal with. Now there is a little bit of ambiguity in those rules. Let's say, for example, a Joker is in a room. You kill everything except the Joker and then you move to the next room. Does the Joker now copy the value of the card in the next room, or does it keep the value of the card from the previous room? In my opinion, the Joker will keep the value of the first card it mimicked until it leaves the room, either by being defeated or by running from it. If you run from it and then it shows up again, it resets, so it then mimics the highest card in that room. But if you leave a Joker in a room and you move to the next room, it does not change, it stays the same value. That is how I've decided to interpret the rule. So, we have 1 and 17 HP to start. And I have played with these rules a little bit, and I do think they're pretty cool, and they do a good job of balancing out the relics, which do make the game quite a bit easier. The aces especially, being able to take out high-level monsters with a no damage penalty is very big. Not only do you not take any damage, but it also doesn't degrade your weapon. It's a huge advantage. And so I can definitely understand why some people feel they make the game a little bit too easy. And the Jokers go away towards trying to fix that problem. And I think it's a very elegant solution. And it introduces the Jokers, which were the only cards in the deck that were not being used by Scoundrel Plus. Alright, let's play our final game. We are the Rogue, and we are fighting with the Jokers in the deck as doppelgangers. Now to start, I think I'm just going to play one of these jacks and run from the room, because I don't want to fight that jack barehanded, and I don't want to waste a health potion. Okay, so for this room, we're going to use the Ace Relic to kill the Ace. Pretty much the ideal use of an Ace Relic, and then we'll equip the 8. Now I will fight the Ace with the 8 we take. We would normally take 6 damage, but we're the Rogue, so we act as if the 8 is a 9, so we take 5 damage, putting us down to 12 HP. Then I think we'll fight the 6 barehanded, so we take 6 damage, which would drop us down to 6 HP, but then I'm just going to use the 6 health potion, which evens it out. We go back up to 12. Let's fight the 8. We take no damage. Then I will equip the 3, and I will fight the 3, and we again take no damage. Alright, let's fight the 2. We take no damage, and this weapon is now useless, so we'll discard it. Then I will equip the 7 of diamonds. We fight the Queen of clubs, and we take 12 minus 8, 4 damage. So that puts us at 8 HP. We definitely don't want to use this yet. We want to save it for something stronger. So instead, we'll use the 7 on the 10. We take 3 damage, putting us down to 5 HP. And then we will use the 2 health potion, bringing us back up to 7. And then I'll equip the 5. Let's use the ace to kill the queen, and then fight the 8 with the 5. We take 2 damage because we're a rogue. I think in the previous room I accidentally forgot to apply the rogue bonus, but we'll just take that extra 1 damage in case I was wrong, in which case ignore this. Let's fight the 5 and the 4, and then equip the 6. Oh, here's our first Joker. So the Joker takes the value of the king, and I think I'm actually going to use the king to replace the Joker. We get a 10 health potion instead. That's pretty nice. Let's use the queen, and then the 10. Since we used the queen, the 10 gets a +3 bonus, so it actually brings us back up to full health because it heals 13, which brings us back to our maximum HP of 17. Let's fight the king. So 13 minus 7 is 6, bringing us down to 11 HP. Then I will fight the jack. So 11 minus 7 is 4, so we drop down from 11 to 7 HP. And then I'm going to use the 7 health potion, which brings us back up to 14 HP. On to the next room. Let's use the king to replace the health potion. It replaces it with a queen. Then we'll fight the 4 and the 3, and we take no damage from either of them. Now we'll fight the 2. And we'll equip the 10, and then I will use the queen. We waste the queen, sort of, but I would rather not use the 10 on the 9. I want to see if we can find something bigger to use the 10 on. And I think I'm going to run from this room, because again, I want to see if I can find something big to use this 10 on. Unfortunately, we don't find anything, so we're just going to have to use the 10 on the 10. We take no damage. Then we'll use the 3 health potion, bringing us back up to max HP 17. And then we'll fight the 7, which feels like a bit of a waste, but don't really have a choice. Let's fight the 5. Then we'll equip the 2. And we'll fight the 9 with the 2. So we take 9 minus 3, we take 6 damage. 7. We take 4 damage, and then we'll use the 4 health potion so it negates it. Then we will equip the 9. Let's fight the king. We take 3 damage, putting us down to 8 HP. Then we'll fight the jack. We take 1 damage, putting us down to 7 HP. And then I'm going to use the jack and run from the 4. So hopefully we can find something decently sized to use this 9 on. That's interesting. We drew 2 jokers and both of them are going to copy the value of this 9. So let's fight this one. We take no damage from it. Then we will heal from the 9, bringing us to 16 HP. And then I'm going to waste the 5, unfortunately. We don't gain any health from it because we already used the 9 health potion. And I'm going to run from this because we can't fight anything with our weapon. Or we could have fought the 6, but I wouldn't have wanted to fight the other one barehanded. And again, we kind of run into, this is actually worse. I actually made it worse, I think. So we'll equip the 4, we discard this. We'll fight the joker, which again takes the value of 9. We got kind of lucky with the jokers. They weren't too tough. So we dropped to 11 HP because the joker is worth 9. 9 minus 5 is 4. And then we will use the 8 health potion, which brings us back up to max HP, 17. I don't know why I put the health potion there. And then at the end, actually, why did I discard? I got confused. Okay. It was like this, I think. So, and this was a 9, so we fight the 6. We take 1 damage. And then we have to fight the 9 barehanded, so we are left with 17 HP. Or sorry, 7 HP. And that is it. We have cleared the dungeon. And we managed to defeat all the monsters that time. I think the rogue is definitely quite a bit stronger than the other 2 classes we played in this video. So that's probably why we had such an easier time with it. The class balance is not perfect. I think the Berserker is definitely the hardest by far. The cheat is also pretty difficult, and these 3 I think are all fairly easy, even with the jokers. Honestly, the jokers do help a bit, but I still think the game is pretty easy with those 3 classes. But that was Scoundrel Plus. I hope you enjoyed it. It's pretty fun. It's still one of my favorite dungeon crawling card games. Honestly, I think the original version of Scoundrel does have slightly better difficulty balance than Scoundrel Plus, but I do appreciate the variety of Scoundrel Plus with the different classes, and I think the relics add an interesting element to the game, even if they make it a fair bit easier. So, that's going to be it for the 2 dungeon crawlers that we've already played before on this channel. The next 2 games we're going to play are going to be brand new games that I've never covered on the channel before. And the first one we're going to play is called Dungeon Solitaire, Tomb of 4 Kings. Dungeon Solitaire, Tomb of 4 Kings is a game by Matthew Lowes. And it is actually only one game in the Dungeon Solitaire series. There are others as well, but the others are played with tarot decks, not with standard playing cards. There's also pretty extensive lore into the series. There are many books that have been written by numerous different authors as part of the Labyrinth of Souls series. I haven't read any of them, but the reviews on Amazon seem to be pretty decent, so I think this is definitely the first game I've played on this channel with tie-in books. So, I don't know, maybe Regicide will get books someday. That would be pretty cool. To set up this game, you want to take the 2 through 10 of hearts and remove them from the deck. All the rest of the cards, including one of the jokers, stay in the deck. this is a game that seems fairly complicated when you're explaining the rules, but once you actually start playing it, it's pretty simple. But I will try to explain the rules as best I can. The goal of the game is to delve into the dungeon, find the 4 treasure hoards, and escape the dungeon alive. The 4 treasure hoards are the 4 kings, and it's often not possible to get them all. So the alternate goal is to just escape with your life with as much treasure as you can get if you're unable to get the 4 treasure hoards. There are 3 kinds of obstacles that you'll face in the dungeon. Those are monsters, locked doors, and traps. The suits that represent those obstacles are the spades, clubs, and diamonds, respectively. Once you encounter one of those suits, you then continue drawing cards, and any cards drawn after that point are action cards. So only the first card that you draw in a turn determines its type, and any other cards. So for example, you start the encounter by drawing a 5 of spades. That would be a level 5 monster. The next spade, club, or diamond you draw is an action card, not a monster, trap, or locked door. So the cards have different uses depending on when they're drawn during the turn. This might sound a little confusing, so let's just play a game and I'll commentate what's going on as I play, and hopefully by the end of the first game the rules should make sense. So let's put the deck right here, and we'll start by drawing our first encounter. And we got the Joker. The Joker is the scroll of light. It's not actually an encounter. When you draw it, you leave it there and you draw another card, and the next card will be the encounter. So our encounter is a 9 of spades, a level 9 monster. When you encounter a monster, you continue drawing cards until you draw a number card that is the same or higher value than the level of the monster. If you draw a number card that is less than the monster, you take damage equal to the value of the monster minus the action card that you played. So let's draw. We get a 2. So we take 7 damage. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're already almost dead. This might be a short delve. Let's draw again, and there we go. We're dead. So the first game ended pretty quickly. I didn't really get to explain much about how the game works. Hopefully, the next couple games will go quicker. And the games in this tend to go really quick, so we should be able to get quite a few in. Just do another quick shuffle. I'm not going to be super thorough about it because we barely even saw most of the deck, so we'll just give it a couple quick ones. Alright, so our first encounter this time is a locked door, level 6. So similar to the monster, you do the same thing. You keep drawing, and the next time you draw a number card, that is the action card. And if you draw a 6 or higher as your action card, it unlocks the door. If you draw lower than a 6, instead of losing health, you must discard cards from the deck equal to the level of the door minus the level of the action card you played. So if we played a 3, we would discard 3 cards from the deck. And we played a 5, so we failed to unlock the door. We discard 1 card from the deck. Make sure you look at the card first before you discard it, and then place it face down in the discard pile. The reason you need to look at it is because if it is an ace, you have to do something special with it, but we'll talk about the aces once we draw one. Now, unlike shot at a locked door. If you fail it or succeed at it, the encounter is done. So you take the cards for the encounter and you flip them over. This marks our first turn. Let's start our second turn, and we get a queen. A queen is a divine favor. Queens allow you to automatically pass an encounter. If you draw a queen during an encounter, it passes the encounter. If you draw a queen before the encounter, you continue drawing cards until you get an encounter, and then you automatically pass it. So let's keep drawing. We got a level 2 monster. We automatically beat the level 2 monster because we drew a queen, and that turn is now over. Let's draw our next encounter. It is a level 3 trap. Specifically, it is treasure guarded by a level 3 trap. Diamonds are treasure, so anytime you play diamonds, either as an encounter or as an action card, if you pass the encounter, you take all the diamonds and you put them in your inventory. However, if you fail the encounter, the treasure stays there and goes face down with the rest of the cards used in the encounter. If an encounter is only diamonds, like for example, if you draw a trap and then the action card you use to defeat the trap is also a diamond, you must leave one of the diamond cards there to mark the turn, so usually just the lowest one. So let's draw. We get the magic scroll again, the scroll of light. That is not an action card. Instead, it stays in the encounter as treasure, and we get it if we pass the encounter. So we draw 4 this time. We pass the encounter. We get the treasure, and we get the scroll of light in our inventory. The scroll of light will be used if we run out of torches, and I'll talk more about the torches once we see our first ace. So we'll draw our next encounter, a level 10 trap. That's pretty bad. We're probably gonna fail this one unless we get very lucky. So if you fail a trap, similar to a locked door, you only get one shot at it. And if you fail it, you take damage equal to the level of the trap minus the level of the action card you played. So it's sort of like a monster, except a monster you must continue fighting until you beat it, whereas a trap, you just have one shot at it. So let's draw. Oh, we got lucky. We drew a 10. So we pass the trap. The treasure goes in our inventory, and we flip the action card to mark the turn. Let's continue. We drew a jack. Jacks are skills, and they don't count as treasure or an encounter. When you draw one, it instantly goes to your inventory and can be used to activate a special effect. The jacks generally are used to automatically win an encounter of their suit, so we can use a jack to instantly disarm a trap of any level. We drew another trap, a level 6 trap. So let's continue drawing to see. We drew our first ace. Aces are your torches, and when you draw one, it means one of your torches has gone out, and you put it over on the side. I think the rules say to put it above, but to optimize vertical space, I'm going to put it on the side. So if all 4 aces show up, then you lose, but if you have the scroll of light, when the 4th ace shows up, you can play the scroll of light instead. Then you take the final ace and you put it at the bottom of the deck. So basically you will have light unless you run out of cards in the deck. Alright, let's draw again. We get a 9, so we pass the trap, but we have to leave 1 card to mark the turn, so we'll leave the 6. Let's go to the next room, and we get a level 6 monster. Let's see if we can defeat it. We draw a 3, so we take 3 damage. Let's draw again. A king. Kings are the treasure hoards. The ultimate goal of the game is to try to escape the dungeon with all 4 of the kings, but that is often very difficult, so if you can just escape with your life, that's usually good enough. But we will see if we can win this king. The kings act like treasure, so you must pass the encounter to pick it up. Let's continue drawing. A jack of hearts, that instantly goes to our skills pile. The Jack of Hearts will let us avoid damage for 1 turn. We draw 2. We'll take the 4 damage. If I have to take damage again, I'm going to play the Jack of Hearts. We got a Queen, a divine favor, so we automatically win the encounter. We get the 2 to our treasure pile. The King goes to our King pile. And the rest of these cards go face down. Now at any point in the dungeon, you can choose when you can turn around and start working your way back to the entrance of the dungeon. So we're gonna do that now, and to signify that, you start putting your encounters on the lower row, starting 1 space back from the last turn on the top row. We drew a level 7 trap, and I think just to be safe, I'm going to play the Jack. So we instantly pass the trap just because we're so low on health. I guess I could have used the Jack to avoid damage if I wanted to. That might have been better. We drew our second ace, so that's another torch gone. A level 3 monster. This should be fairly easy. And we get our Jack of Spades. That will allow us to instantly defeat a monster. We drew a 5, so we didn't need to use the Jack. We defeated the monster. Our third torch. Luckily, we have the Scroll of Light, so we're not too worried about the torches. A Queen, so whatever this encounter is, we'll pass it immediately. And one of the Kings, so that's good. We're gonna get one of the Kings here. Our final skill, the Jack of Clubs, allows us to unlock any door. And crucially, you can actually try to unlock the door before using the Jack of Clubs. You can't do that with the other Jacks, but with the Jack of Clubs, you can draw a card, see whether or not you would have passed it, and if you failed, you can choose to play the Jack instead. So let's continue drawing. A 9, a locked door, level 9, we instantly pass it because of the Queen. So we have 2 Kings, 2 more rooms to go before we escape the dungeon. Another Queen, so we instantly pass this encounter again. A level 8 trap, we pass it, and it goes to our treasure. I actually just realized that we passed this encounter here and we forgot to take the treasure, so I'm just gonna take it now. And our final encounter, it has one of the Kings, and it's a level 8 lock. And I'm gonna draw again because I'm hoping that we draw the final King. We did not. We drew a 4, which is not enough to pass the encounter, but we can play the Jack instead. To pass the encounter, we get the 4 and we get the King, and we escape the dungeon. However, we only got 3 of the Kings. So, to tally up your score, you add up all of the treasure that you got. So 4, 11, 19, 21, 30, 40, 43. The scroll, if you did not use it, is worth another 6. So 49, and each of the Kings is worth 10. So 79 was our score, and that's actually quite a good score. I usually don't manage to get that high. Alright, let's get all the cards together, and we'll play another one. Reset the HP counter. I don't know if we're gonna manage to win one with all 4 Kings tonight. I've only done it once. It's very tough. And this is quite a luck-based game in general, because when you just have to draw action cards and you don't have any other options, it's just down to luck whether or not you win the encounter. dungeon dive. So our first encounter is a queen, so whatever it is, we pass it. A level 3 trap, so we get 3 treasure. And we turn this over. Our second turn has a king. It's a level 5 lock. Do we pass? Yes, we do. We got another queen. So there's our first king in our inventory. A level 6 trap. And we pass it. We leave the 6 and take the 9. A level 2 lock. And we try 5. So we unlock the door. Another king. What is guarding the king? A level 7 monster. Uh-oh. Let's see. We drew a jack to avoid damage. And we draw an 8 to defeat the level 7 monster. This game is going pretty well. We've got 2 kings already. No damage yet. A level 9 monster. Now this might get tricky. Now we already drew 2 of our queens and we don't have the jack of spades yet, so I don't know how good our odds are going to be to win this. We have to draw a 10 or a 9. We draw an 8, so we take 1 damage. That's not too bad to start, but we need better than that. A 6, we take 3 damage. And a queen, we pass the encounter automatically. We get more treasure. And let's turn around. I usually turn around after 6. A king guarded by a level 8 monster. Alright, let's see. A 4. We take 4 damage. We're probably going to have to use that jack soon. Let's draw again. There's our jack of spades. I might just use that, honestly. I think I'm going to. Let's play the jack. We take the king. And we win the encounter automatically. Our next... Oh, I should have saved that jack. Now you have an alternate option for dealing with monsters, which is that you can throw treasure at them, but you must throw treasure that is equal to the value of the monster, and we don't have a 10 treasure. Also, if you throw treasure at a monster, it does not count as winning the encounter, so if there's any treasure or kings there, or the scroll of light, you don't get them. They go face down. Uh-oh, a king. Okay, we really need a queen or any 10. There's our first torch gone. Our second torch. Okay. Oh my god, we're so lucky. Okay, we have all 4 kings. We just have to escape with our lives. Okay, 3 turns to go. Oh my god. A level 2 monster. Oh, that's nothing. And we get 7 treasure for our troubles. A level 4 monster. That should be pretty easy as well. A jack of diamonds. And we defeat the monster. 1 more turn and we escape with all 4 kings. A level 3 monster. We got so lucky at the end. And we win. Oh my god. Okay. So, I can't say that was skill or anything. That was just we got incredibly lucky. But we escaped with the 4 kings. Now, I don't know if you actually get some kind of point bonus if you escape with the 4 kings. I think that's just like, you know, if you do it, it's like the ultimate victory. But let's add up our treasure as well. 10, 17, 25, 30, 39, 42, plus 40 is 82. So honestly, not that many more points than last time, but we got all 4 of the kings. So I definitely am happy about that. I'm glad we managed to get at least 1 win like that tonight. So let's get the rest of the cards. We're gonna keep playing just because you can go through these games so quickly, so we may as well just keep playing some more. Oh, I'm so glad we managed to get one where we got all the kings. That has not happened to me many times. Like I said, out of all the times I've played this game, I've only had that happen once. And I've played this game probably 15 to 20 times. This is a pretty cool game though. Definitely less player choice than some of the other games that I've covered on this channel, but still pretty interesting and fun to think about narratively, to sort of imagine yourself in the dungeon, encountering all these obstacles, trying to escape. Like, that was very exciting when I got that fourth king and realized that I just had to escape. If you use your imagination and try to immerse yourself in that situation, you definitely get the excitement. And the rule book for the game actually even specifically says that. They have a whole section about narrative play and about trying to imagine the scenario in your head. Alright, let's try another game. And we start with a torch. So already we're down one torch. A level 7 locked door. And we unlock it. Starting off well, a level 6 locked door. And we pass it with a queen. A level 9 monster. Uh-oh. We take 3 damage. 1, 2, 3. We lose another torch. We take 1 damage. And the monster now is guarding a king. We take 2 damage. This level 9 monster is strong. Another king. A jack of spades. And I think I'm just gonna use it so that we get all of these kings and the treasure. This monster was just too tough to beat, so now there's still a 10 of spades in the deck, so I might regret using that, but for now, I wanted to get those kings. I wanted to guarantee it. Alright, a level 5 trap, and we pass it, and we get the treasure. A level 3 trap, and we pass it, getting the 8 treasure. A queen, so we automatically pass this next encounter, which is a level 3 locked door. Let's start the trek back. A king. Level 7 trap guarding the king. And we fail, so we will not be getting the 4 kings in this dungeon, and I think we're actually dead, yeah. So we actually died I think this is the first time we've actually died, besides that one game where we died right at the beginning, so we died in the dungeon. Our treasure and kings go to waste. Perhaps some other adventurer will come across our body and find them, but we will never make it out. Alright, let's keep, I think maybe we'll do 2 more before moving on to our final game, which is going to be Card Crawler, which is another game I think is quite interesting. By the way, this game was actually requested by someone in the comments. Thank you for requesting it. I actually originally heard about this game from watching Delicate ASMR play it. Delicate ASMR is an amazing YouTuber. She's pretty recent. She started around the same time I did. And she also makes many card game videos, and I love her videos. So I just figured I'd give her a little shout out, since I learned about this game from her channel. Alright, let's start our next dive into the 3 of diamonds to mark the turn. A queen, so we pass this next encounter. We get our first skill, a jack of diamonds, and luckily we drew the queen, so we don't have to fight that level 10 monster. We can just go right by it. A level 4 trap, and we defeat it. We take the treasure. And one of our torches burns out. Another one of our torches burns out. I love this Ace of Spades, by the way. I didn't mention the deck. This is the Bicycle Spellbound deck. It's the same deck I used in my first Clear the Dungeon video, and it's a really neat deck. Our next encounter, we have a king, and we get our jack of clubs and our jack of hearts. And the 5 of diamonds is guarding the king. I'm wondering if the reason why I got the 2 aces in a row and the 2 jacks in a row is because I didn't do a good job at shuffling. Maybe. We fail the trap though. Oh, I should have. Well, I guess I didn't use the jack of diamonds because it was kind of a low level trap and I wasn't expecting to fail it. But I mean, 5 is like, I guess I had a 50-50 chance, right? Unfortunately, we lose the king, so we will not be getting the 4 kings in this game. A level 9 locked door, and we drew a 7, so let's play the jack. We instantly pass the encounter, take the 7, and move to the next room. We get our jack of spades, which will let us instantly defeat a monster. A level 5 locked door, and we draw an 8, so we win the encounter. Let's start on our way back. A level 7 locked door, which we fail, so we must discard 4 cards, and you always check to see if you drew an ace first, and if you did, you put it on the side. Otherwise, it just goes in the discard pile. And then you pass the encounter once you do that. A level 2 locked door. Our 3rd torch and the scroll of light got discarded when we failed at the locked door, so there's a good chance that we might have all our torches go out and get lost in the dungeon forever. A level 2 monster. We defeat it. A king, which is being guarded by a level 6 monster. Let's try to defeat it. Oh, we did. Nice. So we get another king. And our last room, a king guarded by a level 2 trap. Let's keep drawing in case we get more treasure. Nope. We just pass it immediately. We get these 2 treasure and the king. And we have escaped the dungeon once again. This time we got a lot less points, I think. There's 9, 13, 21, 51. So not nearly as much as we have been getting in those other more successful games, but at least we got out alive. Let's do one more game before we move on to the final game, which is going to be Card Crawler. When I first read the rules of this game, I thought I wasn't really gonna enjoy it that much because it's so luck-based, but it is still really an exciting, fun game to play, even if there is so much luck involved. So I'm glad I tried it. Let's give it one more shuffle since I think I didn't do a very good job of shuffling that last time. Alright. So, our first encounter is a level 10 trap. That's bad. And It's being guarded by a king. I forgot to reset this to 10. And we fail the trap, so we will not be escaping with the 4 kings this time. That's okay, at least we had 1. So, we move on. A level 4 locked door, and we pass it. A level 6 locked door, and we pass it, and we get 7 treasure for our trouble. A level 5 locked door, lots of locked doors in this dungeon. A king. I just realized I said before that a level 5 was a 50-50, but that's actually not true because the only action cards are 2 through 10. So it's actually a little more than a 50-50 chance of succeeding on a 5. One of our treasures burns out. Another king, 2 kings in the same room. What are they guarded by? A level 8 locked door. Not a good sign. And we fail it. So there's 3 of our kings that we're not going to get. And we discard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next room, a level 4 trap. And we fail it. We take 2 damage. And we discard. Let's start our way back. A level 9 trap. And we pass with the queen, the divine favor. Next encounter is a level 10 enemy. And our 3rd torch burns out. We get a jack to pass a trap and a jack to pass a locked door, but we lose the fight to the monster, and I believe that kills us. Yes, we have died on our last run. Unfortunate, but I had a really fun time playing that game. I think this is a really fun game and worth giving a shot. Doesn't have quite as much strategic depth as some of the other games we've played in this video, but still a very cool and interesting game. And it's fun to sort of imagine the narrative as you're playing. So maybe try the game out. Again, it was created by Matthew Lowe's. And if you really like the game, maybe try out the other Dungeon Solitaire games like Labyrinth of Souls. And if you really, really like the game, maybe go and give the books a read to learn about the lore. Alright, that's enough of this game. The next game we're going to play is Card Crawler. So, Card Crawler is sort of reminiscent of Regicide when it comes to its combat system, but it also features many other interesting dungeon crawling elements and is overall a very interesting game. I think what I like the most about Card Crawler is that it is the only one of the games that I've been playing today that features character progression, and I think that's really interesting. It's a core feature of RPGs. You defeat monsters and you get loot to become stronger, and as you get stronger you can take on more and more difficult monsters. But that's not really something you usually see in these sort of dungeon crawling card games like Scoundrel and Clear the Dungeon. However, in Card Crawler, you start at a pretty low level of strength, and the final boss, the Black Joker, is pretty much out of your reach in terms of being able to defeat in battle. So you have to explore the dungeon, find loot, and defeat monsters in order to sort of level up your attack deck to become stronger, and once you're strong enough, you can fight the final boss and win the game. So, to set up the game, first, like in Dungeon Solitaire, you want to remove the hearts, but this time you also remove the ace, not just the 2 through 10. And like in Dungeon Solitaire, this becomes your life deck. Next, you want to separate the cards into 2 decks. The first deck contains the ace through 6 of the spades, clubs, and diamonds. other deck contains all the remaining cards, the 7 through 10, the jacks, queens, and kings, and the black joker, who is the final boss of the game. Shuffle both decks, and we're going to do a little wash here. This is the action deck. I just like to wash with the mini decks because it can be hard to shuffle these decks normally, like with Riveling. The mini decks just make it a little bit tough. Alright, so our action deck is nice and shuffled. Now let's do the dungeon deck, which is the one that contains all of the other cards. Alright, so we're ready to deal the game out. And another thing that makes Card Crawler really interesting compared to the other games we've played is that you actually deal out a dungeon map that we will be exploring. It is a 5x5 grid. So this is our dungeon map, and finally, we need some sort of token to track our character's position, and I'm just going to use this D6 dice. So let's get everything ready. Finally, we have to draw our hand. We draw 5 cards from our action deck. So, let's get started. In order to move in the dungeon, you have to discard 1 card in order to move a space. So let's move here. And we got a jack. Jacks are events, and each suit has a different effect that is activated when you find the jack. Red jacks are positive events. Black jacks are negative events. The Jack of Diamonds reveals all adjacent rooms. So now we know what's in all of these rooms. And once you've activated the jack, you turn it sideways so that you know it's been activated. Now let's talk about the different cards we've revealed here. So, the Jack of Hearts is another event. Once we activate that event, we heal 1 HP. The 9 is a weapon. Clubs are weapons. Clubs and diamonds basically work the same. You walk into a room with one, and you can loot it. And the way you loot is by discarding 1 card from your hand, and then taking the card that you want to loot and putting it in the discard pile. So you lose 1 card from your deck, and you gain 1 card from putting it in the discard pile, because when you run out of cards, you shuffle the discard pile, and then you'll be able to use your new card. So this is how you level up your strength in the game. You slowly replace your less powerful cards with more powerful cards, and as your deck becomes stronger, you can fight more and more powerful enemies. So I think we're gonna go up. Well, first we end our turn, so you take as many actions as you want to take. In this instance, we moved into this room. That was our action. And once you've taken your actions, you can end the turn by refilling your hand to 5 cards. Now we're gonna go north and take this 9. So we need to discard 1 card. I'm going to discard the 4 of diamonds. And we move up to the 9. And now we can loot the 9 by discarding not discarding. we replace. So this card goes here, sideways, and then we take the 9 and we discard it. And we end the turn, so let's refill our hand. Alright, so let's move to a new area. We'll discard the 5, and we'll go here. And we found a queen. Queens are companions. When you find them, you put them next to your health pile, and they give you a special effect. 2 of them are passive effects that will apply for the rest of the game, and 2 of them are activated effects. The Queen of Diamonds is called the Strong One, and she makes it so that when we reshuffle our discard pile, we only lose 1 HP. So normally once you go through your entire action deck and you reshuffle the discard pile, you lose 2 HP, and this is called exhaustion. However, when you have the Queen of Diamonds, your exhaustion is reduced, so instead of losing 2 HP, you only lose 1. Let's end our turn and draw again. We get an Ace of Diamonds. We'll discard the ace and we'll go right here. And we encounter a monster, so this is going to be our first battle in the game. Spades are monsters, and the way monsters work is that they have an attack value of the value of their card and a defense value of double the value of the card. So this monster has an attack power of 9 and a defense power of 18. You get to attack first if you have enough cards in your hand to add up to more than the defense value of the opponent. So I would need enough cards to add up to higher than 18, which I don't. You can defeat the monster. However, if you don't have that many cards, you have to defend. So we're going to defend against the monster by discarding cards with a value of 9. So we'll discard the 5 and the 4. Now we end our turn, so we'll refill our hand. And now we have enough to defeat the monster. So in order to defeat the monster, we're going to play the 6. The 6, that's 12. The 5, that's 17. And then the 2, that's 19. So we defeat the monster. Once you defeat a monster, you can then loot it. And I believe you are allowed to end your turn and refill your hand before you loot the monster. The rules say that if you leave the room, then you can't loot the monster anymore. You have to loot the monster while you're in the room. But I think you are allowed to end the turn first, draw new cards, and then pick from those cards to loot with. So we'll use this 2 of spades right here. And the 9 goes in our discard pile. And we'll end the turn. You gain points at the end of the game, and diamonds are treasure, just like in Dungeon Solitaire. So the more diamonds you have in your deck at the end of the game, the more points you get. So I would rather use them to move and then replace my black cards when I'm looting. So I want to keep the low value diamonds in my deck and only replace the black cards. Now we got another queen, the Queen of Spades. This also goes next to the life counter, but this is not a passive effect. Instead, you can activate the queen to double your attack power on 1 turn. To activate the queen, you must trash it. Trashing is a different mechanic from discarding. When you trash a card, it goes out of play for the remainder of the game. You don't get it back like when you discard. And there is also a point bonus at the end of the game if you manage to win without trashing any cards. There are other situations where you can trash cards, like for example, if you encounter a monster, you're allowed to instantly avoid the encounter by trashing a card and taking 1 hit of damage. In some cases, that might be preferable to failing to defend against the monster, because that might end with you taking more damage. But I'm going to try to avoid trashing cards at any cost, because I want to get that point bonus. I want to try to win with the maximum points possible. I've never done it, but it's been kind of my ultimate goal with this game, kind of like getting the 4 kings in the last game. So let's end our turn. We draw an ace, and now we will reshuffle our discard pile for the first time. And when you reshuffle, we're gonna take 1 damage. Normally you would take 2, but because we have the Queen of Diamonds, we only take 1. And since we can't really wash because we have all these cards, we're just gonna try to shuffle normally. Don't really have room to wash. Alright. So let's go down, and then I'm gonna make my way back towards the jack so we can heal the health that we lost. Because you also get points based on how much life you have remaining at the end of the game, so we want to try to end with all of our health if possible. Let's discard the 3. And go down here. And oh no, it's the Black Joker. It's way too soon to be fighting you. And we don't have enough cards to defend against it. The Black Joker has an attack power of 15 and a defense value of 30. So we would need cards that add up to 15 to defend against the Joker. But we only have 14. Now we can still play all our cards and then we'll only take 1 damage. So let's do that. We'll play all of these and then we take 1 damage because 15 minus 14 is 1. So it works similar to Scoundrel. And now we are going to run away. We will discard the Ace of Diamonds and move to this space right here, which has a 10 of diamonds on it. Now, from what I understand, the diamonds work exactly the same as the clubs when you find them in a room. The only difference is that they count as treasure in your deck, whereas the clubs do not. So we don't discard the 5. We replace the 10 with the 5, and we discard the 10. And now we will refill our hand. Let's discard our 5 of diamonds, and we'll go into this room with the jack. We'll activate the jack, and we heal 1 HP. Bringing us back up to 9. Let's end our turn. We draw a new card. I will discard the 3, and we'll go down here. The 7 of spades is another enemy, so it has 14 defense power. So let's use the 9 and the 5. Actually, I'm going to use the 9 and the 6, because I might want to replace the 5 with the 7. So we'll use the 9 and the 6 to defeat the 7. Let's end our turn. We will loot the 7 and replace it with the 2. Now, we've had this king here since the beginning, but I never explained what the kings are. The kings are the knights, and they are enemies with a power of 10. So, they have a power of 10 and a defense of 20. The only difference between a king and a 10 of spades is that a king is worth more when looted, but cannot be used in combat. So we can loot a king, but we can't play it in combat. We can still discard it to move, but it does not do any damage. But I think we are ready to fight the king. So let's discard the 4. Move to the king. And then we do 7, 11, 9. That's 20, but we need to go over 20. So we add the 5 and we defeat the king. We'll end our turn. We have to reshuffle the deck again. So I think at this point it is not possible to get the maximum points because we lost 1 health against the Joker. I think the maximum we can get is 9. There is, actually no, it's going to be 8. It's going to be the maximum because there is an item that lets us heal. It is the Queen of Hearts. But we've not found the Queen of Hearts yet, and even if we did find her, she goes in the discard pile, so we would have to take one more damage before we would even get to use her. So we are not going to be able to finish with 10 HP or 9 HP. The best we can do is finish with 8 HP. So we will not be getting a perfect score this time. And we refill our hand. And we will loot the king, replacing it with the 3. And we'll end our turn again. Let's discard the 2 of diamonds and move down here. It is a jack, and it is a black jack, which is a negative event. The jack of clubs reveals all adjacent rooms, similar to the jack of diamonds, but if it reveals a monster, the monster instantly attacks you. You reveal in the order of north, east, south, west. This is in a corner, so there is nothing in the east or the south. We reveal the west room, and it is not a monster, so we do not take damage. And we activated the event, so we turn it sideways. Let's end our turn. I'm going to discard the 6 of diamonds. We reach the Queen of Hearts. So the Queen of Hearts, instead of going here, goes into our discard pile, so she actually becomes part of our deck. And when she shows up in the deck, we can play her to heal 1 HP. But we have to wait until we shuffle our discard pile again before we get the opportunity to use that power. Let's discard the 4 and move over here. It is the 8 of spades, so it has an attack power of 8, a defense power of 16, and we just happen to have enough to defeat it. The 9 and the 7. Actually, that does 16, but we need to do more than 16, so we also have to play the 6. We defeat the monster, end our turn. And we'll loot it with the 5. So we replace it with the 5, and it goes to our discard pile. We'll end our turn. And next, let's go to the north here. Discard the 4, and we reveal the final queen that we haven't found, the Queen of Clubs. She allows us... Actually, let me see what her name is. Each of the queens has names. The Queen of Hearts is the healer. The Queen of Diamonds, as I said, is the strong one. The Queen of Clubs is a helpful hand. And the Queen of Spades is the fighter. So with the Queen of Clubs, we can draw up to 6 cards in our hand instead of 5. Now our deck is still seems to be lacking a little bit in order to beat the Joker. I think we still need to get more powerful cards. So let's discard our ace and move to the west here. It is a knight, a king of spades, so we need to deal 20 damage to defeat it, and it looks like we do have enough. So we have 9, 15, 20, 23, and we discard those. We'll end our turn. 1, 2, 3, and we have to reshuffle our deck. We lose 1 HP, and we reshuffle the deck. And we'll finish refilling our hand. 1, 2. Let's loot with the ace of spades. And remember, kings don't actually help improve our deck in terms of attack power. They can't be used in combat. They can only be discarded for movement. End our turn. Let's discard the ace and move to the south. And it's a 7 of clubs. We'll loot it with the 3 of clubs. End our turn. We'll play the Queen of Hearts, and she goes goes to our discard pile so we can keep using her. Once we have her, we don't trash her. And end our turn. Let's discard the 4 of diamonds and move to the west here. A 7 of diamonds. We will loot it with the 4 of clubs. And now end our turn. Now let's discard the 6 of diamonds. Move up here. We'll loot it with the 6 of clubs. And end our turn. Let's discard the 2 of diamonds and move up to the north again. It's another jack. The jack of spades is a trap and it deals 1 damage, so we go down from 8 to 7. And once we've activated the trap, we turn it sideways. We've actually cleared most of the dungeon now. Let's continue. We'll end our turn. Discard. I'm actually going to discard the 7 of spades. I don't want to discard the 10 because it seems like it would be too useful in case we encounter a monster like a king. I think we still have 2 kings on the board. And speaking of, there it is. So let's fight the king. We'll do a 10, an 8, and a 6. That's enough to defeat the king. We discard those, and we'll end our turn. And let's loot with the 4 of spades. Sorry, I keep forgetting that I don't discard. I replace. Okay. And now we need to shuffle again. So we take 1 damage from exhaustion. And then we shuffle the deck. We'll refill our hand. And let's discard the king, because the king can't be used in combat. And it's a 9. Unfortunately, I wish we had something lower to replace with this 9, but we don't. Actually, we can end our turn. So let's see what we draw. An 8. Okay, we'll do that then. Replace the 8 with the 9. Let's discard the 3. Move to the east here. And it's an 8. We'll end our turn. And again, no low cards here, unfortunately. Now, I think we might actually be able to come back to this room later. It says with monsters you must loot them when you're in the same room, but I don't think it says anything about that with treasure or weapons. So let's actually just leave this here. We'll go to the next room here, and it's the King of Clubs. So we need 20, and we can do that pretty easily. We have 2 9s, and then a 4. That defeats the king. And we'll end our turn. And again, I wish we had something lower to replace with this king, but we drew pretty much all high cards. I think our deck is getting to a point where it's mostly high cards now besides the diamonds. So that's why this is happening. And, okay, a 6, nice. Let's discard the ace, move back here, and then let's end our turn just in case we get something. No, okay, we're going to do the 6 then. We take the 6, and we replace the 8. End our turn. Let's use the queen. We gain back 1 HP. We'll discard the 2 and move back over here. And we'll discard the king and move right here. The 10 of clubs. And we will loot it with the 7. And now we have to shuffle our discard pile again. We lose 1 HP from exhaustion. And then after this last room, we're gonna head and fight the Black Joker. I think we're definitely strong enough to take him out now. End our turn. We gain 1 HP back. We'll discard the king and move here. It's a level 10 monster, so we need to deal 20 damage, basically like fighting a knight. So there's 10, there's 8, and we'll do the 5. So we defeat the level 10 monster. To refill our hand, and we'll replace this 9 with the 10. Alright, it's time to fight the Dark Lord of the castle. Play this. Heal 1 HP. End our turn. We'll discard the 6. And the 4. And now here's the trick about the Black Joker. You must loot his body in the same turn that you defeat him. If you don't, then he comes back to life in the next turn. So you need to make sure you have an extra card at the end of the battle to loot him with, otherwise he comes right back. So we'll discard the 3, move into this room, and we have to fight him. So he has 30 defense. There's 10, 19, 27, and that is enough to take him out. We kill him, and we will loot him with the 9, and we win the game. So let's tally up our score. First, the Joker himself is worth 30 points. The kings are worth 20 points each. The queens are worth 5 points each. The diamonds are each worth their value and add up to, I believe, 55, so 19, 27, 34, 40, 45, 49, 52, 54, 55. We also get an equal amount of points to our life remaining, so that's 7. I don't know, these might not be showing on the camera. Let me move them over. And finally, we get a 5-point bonus because we did not trash any cards throughout the game. So I believe a perfect score, except for the fact that we only had 7 health remaining instead of the maximum of 10. 200 is the maximum score, so that means I believe we have a score of 197. I'm not actually going to add everything up, I'm just assuming because I think everything else was perfect. So I think we had 197. I think that might actually be my best score. But that is the game. It takes kind of a while to play compared to the others, so I think we're probably only going to play the one game tonight. But I hope you enjoyed it. That's going to be it for the Dungeon Crawlers tonight. If you enjoyed any of these games and would like to see me play them later in a standalone video, let me know. I would be glad to bring one or more of them back. Scoundrel especially is one of my favorites, and I'm definitely going to be doing more videos on Scoundrel in the future. but if you liked the others as well, let me know in the comments, and I can definitely bring one of these games back for a future video. Also, if I decide to do another video like this and you have other card games you would like to recommend, dungeon crawlers, or just themed card games in general, feel free to leave suggestions. I'm always looking for new games to try out and potentially play on the channel. My next video, though, is going to be a traditional solitaire or patience video. I recently picked up this book. It is one of my favorite books on solitaire. Previously, I'd only read this book on the Internet Archive in a digital version, but I finally picked up a physical copy of the book. It's got hundreds of different solitaire games, and I'm super excited to have a physical copy finally. And we're going to be playing a game from this book in my next video. This one right here, Duchess. So that's going to be the next video. And if you think that sounds interesting, consider subscribing so that you'll be able to see when that comes out. And if you're already subscribed, thank you so much for following me on this solitaire journey. This video was originally intended to be a celebration of 1,000 subscribers, but it came out very late, and by this point I'm over 1,200, but I still want to say thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed and left nice comments. It's been so amazing running this channel and seeing how many people enjoy the videos, talking to people about solitaire, and having people tell me about the games they like and their little variants that they make to the games to make them more fun for themselves. It's just been such an amazing experience, so I can't thank you all enough. So that will be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good night and sleep well.